The president did hold his coronavirus briefing tonight. Speaking of the pandemic, here is how he described the state of our nation in the midst of this pandemic.
We're beginning to see evidence of significant progress. I have to add that the virus is receding. We must focus on new flare-ups in the states where the case numbers have risen, including Georgia, Mississippi, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Missouri, and I think you'll find that they're soon going to be very much under control. A permanent lockdown is not a viable path. Lockdowns do not prevent infection in the future. They just don't. In our current phase, we must focus on protecting those at highest risk while allowing younger and healthier Americans to resume work and school. We want to open those schools. We want to open them.
We're now well above 4.7 million cases with over 156,000 Americans dead. New York Times reporting more than 1.9 million new infections were reported in just the month of July alone. That number accounts for nearly 42% of the total U.S. cases reported since the start of the pandemic. Tonight, the Washington Post on the board with reporting that the virus is surging in several Midwestern states that had not previously seen such high infection rates. And while there's been some leveling off in the Sun Belt, numbers remain too high there. The Post also says there are new upticks, as many of us know, here in the East. Just yesterday, Trump's coronavirus task force coordinator was, let's say, uncharacteristically candid about what we're facing.
We are in a new phase. What we're seeing today is different from March and April. It is extraordinarily widespread. It's into the rural as equal urban areas. And to everybody who lives in a rural area, you are not immune or protected from this virus.
So that right there didn't win her any friends at the White House this morning. Trump voiced his criticism on social media, quote, "So crazy Nancy Pelosi said horrible things about Dr. Deborah Birx, going after her because she was too positive on the very good job we are doing. In order to counter Nancy, Deborah took the bait and hit us. Pathetic." Trump was referring to Speaker Pelosi's comments about having no confidence in the virus response. But his message to Dr. Birx on his own team about her candid assessment of the crisis was nonetheless clear, and this afternoon he was asked to explain his wording.
President, you said today in a tweet that Dr. Birx was taking bait from Speaker Pelosi. What did you mean by that?
I think we're doing very well, and I think that we have done as well as any nation. I told Dr. Birx I think we're doing very well. She was in my office a little while ago. She's a person I have a lot of respect for.
A leading vaccine specialist said today the coronavirus has become a runaway train in our country, a tragic situation, as he put it, that means we cannot have a normal life. While the U.S. is now seeing something of a leveling off in the pace of new outbreaks, there's no doubt that we surpass the European Union in the number of cases. We lead the world in total cases. Late today, Dr. Anthony Fauci, who's been the target of his own White House takedown attempt, defended Dr. Birx.
What Dr. Birx was referring to was the prevalence now in the United States as a nation, particularly in some of the states that are having surging of infection, is what's called inherent community spread. It's much more difficult to get your arms around that and contain it. It's insidious. There are people who are spreading it who have no symptoms at all. That's what she meant by a different phase of where we're going right now, because it isn't easily identifiable who these spreaders are.
Anita, to the question that's been whispered about, is it possible there is no national plan as we sit here 3 months prior to a presidential election because the president is unable to see a campaign upside in leadership, even leading our country out of something awful?
Well, it's actually a campaign. His campaign advisors and aides are telling him that they should have a national strategy, sort of anything to get us out of where we are today in America. So they want him to come out with a national strategy. They think he should have already done that with masks, with lockdowns, with whatever needs to be done across the country. But instead, what you're seeing is this patchwork. So some states and some localities are doing one thing and some are doing another. And obviously, we see that's not working. They are begging him to come up with this national strategy for a political reason, for a reason to get this under control so he can say, look, I did manage this. And he's having a really difficult time with that, as you just saw. He wants the country to open up. And there are health experts who are saying we can't do that. So he's got a problem there. This is not a joke at all, but I was talking to one strategist of his, an ally of President Trump, who was saying he should change his slogan from Make America Great Again to Make America Normal Again. And I don't say that in jest. It's people want to get back to their normal life.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.